what I want to talk about today, I was thinking about what to talk about, and I realized the 4th of July is coming up, Independence Day, and what I connected with is our independence from that monkey mind and that judgment. I'm not good enough. I'm not worthy. I'm not ... The founding fathers came to this country for freedom. They wanted to be free from the expectations of England. They wanted to come here and have freedom of religion, freedom of expression. And that's what we want. What we really want is freedom, to be who we are. I was playing a game just recently, the Satori game. I don't know if any of you have done Radical Forgiveness. There's a game in it called the Satori game. And one of the cards I got is, I am free to be me. And it was like, wow, I've never gotten that before. It was an invitation and a ticket to be free to be me. It was extraordinary. So that monkey mind, that crazy, thought-filled mind that has thought after thought, after thought, after thought, after thought, until we grab onto one and we blow our nose in it. And we hold it and we love it. Oh, I love this thought. I love this thought. It makes me feel so bad. It makes me know that I'm not worthy. Oh, I love it, I love it, I love it. I'm going to put it here. Save it and cherish it. And what we realize eventually is how bad it makes us feel and how tired we are of it and how it's really not the truth of who we are. We think that's the truth of who we are, and we grasp onto it until we realize, until we know that it's not the truth of who we are. And one of the ways to do that is to observe that monkey mind, to step back from those thoughts and say, all right, what's thinking those thoughts? Let's look at what's thinking those thoughts. It's our mind that's thinking those thoughts. Are we our mind? No. We're not our mind. We're not those thoughts. We're not this body. But the observer of those thoughts is who we are. That's our consciousness. It's that divine spark, that divine essence. So I'm going to ask you in the future, from now on, when that monkey mind goes, step back and observe. Because those were all the thoughts that we observed and we didn't grab onto. We were able to go, okay, that's junk. I don't. But this one's the truth. This one's it. And we hang on to it. But if I put it over here, and I step back from it and observe it, I can know that it's not the truth. It's not the truth of who I am. It is a thought. And I can put it over here, I can throw it in the trash, I can do anything I want with it. I can let it go. Because it's not who I am. It's not the truth of my being. And that truth of who we are, that stepped back from, is that consciousness. Marianne Williamson talks about, I love this quote. We were born to make manifest the glory of God within us. It is not just in some of us, but in everyone. That's who we are. We are the oneness with God. Emmett Fox talks about the relationship with God being a father-child, that we are the sons and daughters of the divine of God. Holmes takes it a step further. He says we are an individualized expression of God, expressing itself here on this planet. That the nature of God, being love, peace, harmony, that's God's nature. God can't be outside of that nature. That's who God is. That's the expression and the manifestation of God. So if we are an individualized expression of that, then that's our nature. That's who we are. We are that unconditional love. We are that peace, that harmony. Because we are one with the divine. We are one with God. Can't be separated. We can separate ourselves, and we do often, through judgment, through all kinds of separation. We know when we're separated from the divine. The divine's always in us. Can't be separated from it. It is who we are. We can't. It's like the electricity. It's always there, but we have to plug into it. And that's what we do. Is we plug in to the divine. We open up to that magnificence that is the truth of who we are. One of the things that I've gotten real in tune with recently is how much I look for and step in to that space of God. Because my life works real well there. It flows. Everything just falls before my feet. It's like, oh wow, that got done so easily. It was effortless. I'm a point in my life where there's far too much stuff to be done. It's not going to get done. It's not all going to get done. And it will get done when it gets done. And I've accepted that. And that's talking about freedom. That is freeing. But I've noticed that when I let go of having to do something, that at some point in the future, it gets done easy and effortless. I've got laundry sitting on my floor for 3 days. And either I'm inspired to do it and it's done very easily, or my daughter comes in and does it, which is even easier. But it's about being in the flow. It's about letting go of the judgment of, you didn't do the laundry today. It's got to be done. You didn't do this today. You didn't do that today. Because it's generally what that monkey mind is a judgment. You should have done this. You should have done it that way. Shoulda, 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 shoulda. And it separates us from the truth of who we are. Separates us from the divine. So I've been looking diligently and opening up to spiritual practice. And I invite you to look at what your spiritual practices are. Because I know in the past a lot of my spiritual practices were, I didn't do that right. I messed that up. And it shows up because that's where my consciousness is at. And it keeps showing up. Oh, you didn't do this right. Oh, wow, you didn't do this right. Watch out for this. You're not worthy. You're not good enough. Because that's what my consciousness is on. So, a spiritual practice separates you from whatever that thought is. It gets you centered in the divine. I realized one day, I'm a cabinet maker. And the owner of the shop, there's a piece of equipment called a shaper. And it can kill you. That's one thing. But it can maim your hand. It's a gnarly piece of equipment. But a very vital and useful piece of equipment to the company. And if you respect it and understand it, it's fine. But I realized one day that every time, and this wasn't conscious, it was the divine expressing through me. It was the divine coming through. Every time he turned it on, I automatically went, I surround Joe in the white light of God and know that he and the material that he's working with are safe. And it was automatic. I didn't have to think, oh, okay, he turned that on. I got to know this truth. I got to know this. It was automatic. And I realized it was a spiritual practice. And that brought me out of my fear of him getting hurt or something like that into the knowingness that, nope, God's got it handled. I don't have to worry about it. So it takes me out of the worry and into the space of God, which is where we want to be anyhow, which is our nature. It's who we are. It's this life that we live. We look at it and go, oh man, do I have to get up this morning? Do I have to go to work? Do I have to do X, Y, or Z? Instead of, I get to get up this morning. I get to go to work today. I get to enjoy the people that I work with. I get to enjoy this beautiful day and live life from the divine, from that essence, that knowingness of who we are. So I invite you to find and express and do your spiritual practice. You know how to get to Carnegie Hall? Practice, practice, practice. That's exactly it. I was talking with Bill. I got the absolute pleasure and honor of working with the practitioner class, and going in and was invited to help teach and talk and share. And I hold on. That it was, I recognized that as is this, is a spiritual practice. When I look at an opportunity to be in the space of God, I step into it. It's like, yeah, wow, man, I get to go be in the space of God. I get to share, I get to love, I get to be loved. So I step in that space of God. I invite you to take classes. I invite you to have conversations. Have these conversations of the divine. Find the people that this resonates with you. Share this with each other. Because it's all about remembering. We know this. Our core, our essence is the divine. It is that nature. We know it all the time. It's remembering. It's always remembering. And a spiritual practice brings you back to remembering. One of my favorite spiritual practices is affirmations. I use them all the time because it brings me back to God. And I, fortunately or unfortunately for the people around me, I go, do you really want to affirm that? But one of my favorites that always centers me is God is my source. And then I don't have to worry about anything. There's nothing I have to worry about because God is my source. God has got it handled. Holmes talks about it. He says, God in the universe is for us, not against us. And if we can stand in that, then nothing's wrong. It can't be. God is right there for us with everything in every phase of our lives. Relationships, money, our jobs, our career. And if that's so, then anything is possible. If we're standing in that space of God, then anything is possible because God is limitless. There is no limit to God. So if we're standing there, the relationship that we don't like, the relationship with our job, the marriage, the divorce, the whatever, the day that I'm about to have, oh man, anything's possible in that day. And we limit it to, oh man. Because we're not standing in that space of God. Seek ye first the kingdom of heaven. Go to God. It's all there. All the time. And we think, well, no, God's not going to do that one for me. I'm not good enough. I'm a sinner. Do you know what sin actually means? Exactly. It's an old archery term, an ancient archery term, to miss the mark. That's all it is. And if you look at it that way, it's like, oh, okay. Yeah, and missing the mark is the way we learn. Right? That way, oh, okay, I missed the mark on that one. That didn't feel good. I don't like the effect of that one. I'm going to do this over here. I got another one for you. Got a rubber band here. All right? What I want you to do is grab a rubber band. And, because I was talking about judgment. Okay? So every time... Yep. No. It's not that bad. It's not that bad. No. Every time you have a judgment about anything, yourself, anyone, switch wrists.
Oh, sweet. You're not supposed to.
Because that's where I thought you went. Exactly, and that's the.
Why would you do that?
Exactly. Why would you do that to yourself? Why would God do that to you? God wouldn't. God wouldn't. Switch wrists, and all it is awareness. That's all it is. Being aware. There's a great story. This man goes to this ancient city, and there's a man sitting out front. And he walks up to the old man and he says, "Hey, beggar, what's this city like?" The old man says, "What was it like where you came from?" And he goes, "Oh, it was terrible. There was pestilence, disease, there was unemployment, the people were nasty, I hated it. Why do you think I'm here?" And the old man goes, "You'll find out here." Another man walks up to him and says, "Excuse me, sir, what is this city like?" And he said, "What was it like where you came from?" And he said, "It was beautiful. The people were loving, and there was plenty of employment and abundance, and it was glorious, and I loved it." And the old man says, "You'll find that here." And it's all our perspective. It's all what we're seeing. It's all that focus. And if we focus on God, it's all good. Because God is all good. So focus on the good. Find those spiritual practices. Affirmations, meditation. I meditate every day. I get up at 5, Monday through Friday, I get up at 5:30 in the morning. When I don't want to get up at 5:30 in the morning. Because I know that it's going to set my day off perfectly. I'm going to be in that space of God when I start that day. And then I can, throughout the day, remember. When life comes in, when life happens, it's an easy transition to, nope, God is my source. God is my source. Use these tools. Make them a part of your daily, momently life. One last thing. This was profound for me. I took a class with a woman by the name of Kathy Milano. And in the class, she said, I want you to... The idea was being present. Because that's where God is. God's not in the future. God's not in the past. God is in the present. And she was saying, every time you walk through a threshold, become present. If you're stopping doing something, be present. Get in the present moment. Forget the past. Forget the future. Be here now. And I even started, there are aspects of my job that are very mundane, like sanding. And it's very boring, but it's got to be done. It's part of the job. And I found myself, I suck at being present. I'm just gonna, and that's why I have the spiritual practices. When I go through that threshold, I want to be present. And so I tried to be present while I was sanding, and it was like, oh man, okay, how does my hand move? How does the sandpaper feel? And it was like, okay, I don't know if I've got the patience to do this. But it is an extraordinary spiritual practice because it brings you present. It brings you to that space of God. It allows you to know the truth of who you are. So, I implore you to right now start your independence. Start that freedom from that monkey mind, from that judgment, and be the amazing expression of God that you are. I love you all.